Alright, what's up guys? In today's video, we're going to be uploading a complete guide, basically breaking down how you guys can improve with every single thing there is to know in Call of Duty Warzone. We're going to be talking about everything that you guys can make better or that you can do better, how to become a smarter player so you guys can become the best Warzone player possible. I like to call this how to go from noob to pro. There's a lot of things you guys can do as far as tips. We're going to be breaking down all of that stuff, but the first thing you guys should know is before you even jump off the bus and land and loot up, there are a couple things you guys can do that's going to give you guys the best loadout, the best settings, and the best class setup, the best weapon possible to give you guys an advantage over your opponents when you guys are actually in those fights and running around the map. So in today's video, we're going to talk about what are the best settings, what are the best loadouts, perks, class setups, weapons. We're also going to talk about how the buy stations work, what you guys should be buying first, what's the most important thing to buy. And then we'll also be going over contracts. As you guys should know, in the recent update, they brought in this most wanted contract and actually completely reverted and then went right back to having bounties in the game, which bounties are one of the best things you guys can do in all of Warzone. We're also be going over some Gulag tips. Can't tell me how many times I've seen a streamer on Twitch and he has like his Gulag record on his screen, which is pretty funny, but definitely a lot of tips I can give you guys on how to win more Gulags. As embarrassing as to say, I am an expert in the Gulag. I'm actually in there a lot and I win probably 80% of my Gulag fights. So we're also going to talk about the late game, the mid game, and the end game, how you guys can get more kills, what kind of maneuvers, what kind of tactics you guys can use to get more kills in the game, because if you're struggling to get kills, we're talking about tips for that, as well as rotation tips, what kind of things you guys can do to get the advantage over your opponents as far as rotating. And then the most important thing is the late game, how you guys can actually get more wins in Warzone. So if anything, this video does help you guys out, you guys learn anything new, you want to leave a like, I would greatly appreciate it. The goal on today's video is to smash 1,000 likes. So if you guys want to hit the like and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. So starting it off, the first and foremost thing, there's actually some settings that are very specific in how they're going to affect you. As far as, if you're a controller player, most of you guys should know 99% of my videos are I play on controller. I offer tips and tricks on how to improve on controller. And there's a couple of settings that are specific in Warzone that are going to affect your overall, ability to play better. One of those being the use reload behavior. This is probably one of the most important, if not the most important thing that directly affects Warzone. The difference between tap to reload, tap to use, and contextual tap is basically what I plan is I use tap to use, which if you tap square once, you automatically loot weapons. So what it does is allow you to loot a little bit faster, and you just hold to reload it. I found it to be the best. I tried contextual tap and I really couldn't figure out how to reload, so I wasn't a fan of it. But tap to use is a lot better than tap to reload, so definitely recommend switching that first. The second one is the slide behavior. If you do the same thing, going with the tap, it's a little bit of a faster reaction when you're pressing your controller. With the tap to slide, it's gonna allow you to dodge players better field, trying to track you at a longer distance, you're trying to get away. Definitely use tap to slide. Then we're also going to have the parachute auto deploy. This is obviously just very simple math. If you want to not have to press your button and not kill yourself, turn enabled on. When you get very close to the ground at the very bottom with enabled on, your parachute will automatically deploy for you. Then the very simple settings that matter the most, people want to know. My aim response curve, I play on dynamic. I just find it easier to control. I play on a 7.6 sensitivity. My dead zone, which is a brand new setting, I play on 0.1. 0.05 is default. I will be uploading a video talking about the dead zone in specific soon, but the dead zone I play on, I did raise it a little bit, so I have a bigger dead zone. It's 0.10, and I definitely found it to help my aim a lot better. So that's pretty much it for the settings. I think it's the most important thing because you want to try and give yourself the best advantage before you even jump off the bus. And then the next thing we're going to look at is the class setup. The number one class setup I recommend in specific in Warzone is obviously going to be that Growl. The class setup I have in specific, I'll link in the description. I'll showcase a little video on the screen if you guys want to click the card. You guys can click to go watch the class setup on it, but my current class setup uses the monolith suppressor, the Archangel barrel, the Ranger foregrip, the 50 round mag, and the no stock. This is probably the best mobility class setup. It's still excellent in ADS and movement speed. You're getting a lot extra ammo and your range is greatly increased. This is probably the most common gun you guys will find in Warzone. Obviously, there's a lot of players that use a lot of different guns, but this is probably 99.9% of the guns. After I kill someone, I go loot their body. they have a Growl 556 custom with the Archangel barrel on there. That's pretty much the best class setup as far as what my favorite weapon to use is. The secondary is obviously going to be the RPG. If you're playing solos, trios, I almost always recommend the RPG. You stack that with Amped. What the Amped perk is going to do is allow you to swap to that RPG faster. It also makes it reload faster. And the best thing about Amped, which we'll talk about in a second, but my perks, obviously I run Ghost. I play a lot of solos. I don't ever want to be on UAVs. And Cold-Blooded makes it so players cannot track me with their thermals, and obviously it's the easiest, best perk to use. And the perk ones, you don't need Kill Chain, Quick Fix, Scavenger. EOD helps a little bit, but the amount of times you get an RPG or C4, you're probably dead. So Cold Blood, it's pretty much the only perk that I run for perk 1. Obviously I use the C4. Take out those vehicles if you get into a close range fight. It's easier to kill the enemy with the C4. And the number one tactical I recommend is the heartbeat sensor. It's pretty much the only tactical you should be using unless you're using restock with stuns or something. But heartbeat sensor is the best tactical probably in the entire game. It's probably the best thing you guys can use in Warzone. I couldn't tell how many times I've killed somebody because I have a heartbeat sensor and it detects exactly where they're at. So going over the perks, there's a couple of perks that are actually very good, which I feel like some people probably use and they don't. I want to try and avoid you guys from using those. Number one is obviously going to be Hardline. This is definitely an amazing perk. Probably my favorite one. It's definitely better for trios and quads. What it allows you to do is get less of a buy station price. So example, a UAV is normally $4,000. With Hardline, it's only $3,000. So with Hardline, you could buy 4 UAVs for the price of 3. So you're playing quad, trying to buy, you know, an advanced UAV. It's only 9 grand versus 12 grand to buy an advanced, which is probably the best thing about it. But obviously you don't have ghosts, so I only recommend it in quads or obviously trios where you have a bunch of teammates with a lot of money. And then the shrapnel perk is obviously you spawn with an extra piece of equipment. I definitely would take it last just because there's not really any good perk 3s, but Amped is so much better due to the fact that it puts your armor on faster. So it says you have faster weapon swap, which that weapon swap includes swapping to your armor. So Amped is amazing for that. Then the last perk, which I think is irrelevant, is Kill Chain. It does help you get better kill streaks out of your, care packages, little chests, whatever you guys want to call them. Obviously, you have to get a loadout first to even do that, and by the time you're done looting, you already bought your loadout. So Kill Chain is definitely good, but once again, only trios, only quads. So the next thing, which I think is probably the most important to talk about, is the contracts. These are very unique in how they actually work, because the more contracts you complete, the more money you get per contract. What each contract actually does is a little bit different. With the newest update, obviously you guys know the scavenger contracts, which are the search. You have to search the chests. I think this is the best contract. Probably the number one reason why I land everywhere where I land is because it usually has 3 or 4 searches. These are worth $2,000. It also auto spawns loot. So these chests you're going to loot, the 3 different chests, they're auto spawn. They're not the original chests that were already there. They're making new chest spawns, which is what makes it the best. It also gives you a gas mask. I believe, I don't know if it's in the new update or not. I think they might have changed it, but the scavenger is the only way to find an armor satchel, which is what allows you to get up to 8 armor plates. Obviously, sometimes you get lucky and find it in a chest, but it's probably the best one. For each challenge, every scavenger, every recon, every bounty you complete, you get a 40% bonus. So obviously the recon challenges are worth 1K starting out. The scavengers are worth 2K. The bounties are worth 4K. So the most important thing to do first is to go for the easy stuff first. And that 40% bonus will start to stack. When I was playing just today, I got a $15,000 bounty and I actually completed it. So your scavengers will start to stack every time you complete one. You get a 40% more cash. And what you do eventually once you complete 5 different contracts is even just by starting the contract, you automatically get loot just by starting it. I randomly found this out when I was playing a quads game one time because we were completing as many contracts as possible. And I picked up like a bounty and it automatically dropped like 2 shields for me, which is pretty dope. As far as what they actually are, obviously bounties is probably the best way to track enemies. It shows them it's worth a lot of money. And the best thing about the bounties is if someone else actually steals your bounty, you still get money for it, and also registers as counting for a completed contract. So bounties is probably the best thing to do. Obviously, it kind of shows your position. If you're close to an enemy, it'll show them all red. but I found these to be the best because they're worth the most money, the easiest because they also track enemies, and obviously if someone else steals your bounty, you still get money for it. So I definitely recommend them. Obviously you guys know what the recon is. You guys will see on the screen now what the recon challenge looks like. It basically gives you a zone preview. Also, I like these a lot because in solo they take like 20 seconds to cap them, which if you camp in a little corner for 20 seconds to get new shields and get a new preview of the zone, these do stack. So if you do 4 recons, you will be able to see the 4th zone moving forward, which is a lot of times I think a lot of players do in trios and solos when they're trying to camp for those wins. It's definitely the easiest to complete. It gives loot. The one negative about it is when you are completing a recon, it'll show on the screen recon challenge near you, and it'll pop a little yellow thing over your head, which is kind of negative. In my experience doing these, they do appear in the open a lot, and I've actually died I think 3 or 4 times in the last few days trying to complete one of these because the player was able to see where I was, and obviously I'm standing in the open because they do it on purpose. But I recommend starting with the scavengers. They're the easiest to complete. They're going to give you the most money possible starting out, because if you're opening these chests, they're also giving you good guns, good loot, and they're also giving you money. And obviously after you complete them, you get that gas mask or that satchel, which is an excellent thing to loot. And if you do it really, really early on, definitely start out very, very hot. So the next thing to talk about is the buy station. The number one thing I want to talk about is what is the first thing to buy. Obviously playing trios, quads, even solos, the number one thing you should buy first is that loadout drop. Anyone remembers the good old days when it was a $6,500? You could get this like in the first 3 seconds. It's the most important thing to do because it's going to give you perks. You're obviously going to be able to get ghosts. You'll never appear on a UAV or a heartbeat sensor. You also can get things like tracker and all that other kind of stuff. But it's obviously the most important because you're going to be able to get your personal loadout with all your perks and your best gun possible. And the one thing I learned is my biggest pet peeve that I personally don't do that angers me sometimes when I die is I never buy self-revive. There's so many times where the players snipe in this game, and if you get sniped or you get mapped from a long distance, it gives you a second chance to get back in there. You self-revive, get back up there. Definitely good in quads too if you do that self-revive glitch. You basically self-revive to like 90%, your teammate revives the last 10%, you still retain that self-revive. It's definitely probably the most important thing to buy in solos. And the next thing is going to be the plates. These are $1,500, which is the cheapest item. You can get $1,500 very, very fast. Definitely the most important because this is the only thing you can do to get your health back, and it's obviously the cheapest item. Definitely probably the most important thing with the new satchel coming out, being able to carry up to 8 different plates. It's probably definitely ranked a little bit higher on my list now of what's most important to buy. Then obviously UAVs. They're only $4,000. 3 of them makes an advanced. It will show the entire lobby, and I'll show you exactly where they are, so it'll help you to track players, but it'll tag where they are. You'll be able to go instantly and go find and hunt those players. Definitely buying UAVs helps a lot early on. It's definitely one of the most important. For me personally, my favorite thing, which I'm not really going to go in depth on, is I love airstrikes. Airstrikes are able to prevent campers. How many times you've fought a guy, he's sitting on a roof and he just sits in a little corner and you just airstrike and make him go hide, or you actually kill him. And then today I actually killed the guy with a cluster strike. I was the actual camper sitting in a corner. I cluster striked myself while sitting in a building. He actually tried to push me in the cluster strike, ended up killing him. So I definitely think going for those kill streaks, the precision in the cluster helps a lot because you're able to make players move out of their positions, which is obviously going to give you an advantage. So the next thing to talk about is the Gulag. There are 3 different map layouts you guys should actually know. I'll showcase all 3 of them on the screen. The one thing that's the most important before you even hop in the Gulag, just before you even hop into the plane, you can spray paint your enemies before going in, which will show them a little better on the screen. Obviously this game is very dark in color. If you press that spray paint, you have gold, red, green, and pink. I believe you can spray paint them 4 different colors, which is going to showcase their position. I couldn't tell how many times I saw a guy in the Gulag because he was a bright yellow guy running around. Worst case scenario, even if you don't win the Gulag, he's going to spawn back into the map, still showcased as that color, so it's definitely going to make it hard for him. The one thing I do the most is the right hand shoulder peek, as far as giving you the biggest advantage to be able to hide your body while still being able to shoot. So initially, almost every single Gulag that I start out, I will run to the front left or the front right corner, and I will sit in it and I will sound horror, try and find the guy. I couldn't tell how many times I've won because I'm sitting in that corner where he can't see me, but I can get a full advantage. That's what the right hand peek does. It allows you to be able to see the map while also not revealing your position. It's probably the most important thing I do when I win a lot. And the second thing is going to be talking about staying alive. There's actually a capture the flag or a capture the HQ. If the round doesn't end on kills, it'll go to a time countdown, like you have like 10 seconds or 15 seconds to capture the HQ in the middle. definitely is going to help a lot. If you know you're not that confident, you're in a shoddy fight, which anytime I get the 725 or the R90, I just rush. But there's a lot of times you're not that confident going in. You can definitely outplay that player, camp that timeout, and play that overtime, just sit in the middle. And then the last thing is stacking that right-hand peek using your nades. If you go for that right-hand peek, you're sitting in the middle, and you can't find the enemy, throw your stun, throw your flash. It'll tell you exactly where he is. If it doesn't get a hit, he's definitely not where you threw it. And it's definitely probably the most important thing. I couldn't tell how many times I died to a C4 and wanted to break my controller, because C4s are also the most dominant thing in the Gulag. So the last thing I want to talk about in this video is kill tips in order how to get more kills. Obviously, you guys should know, like I stated in the very beginning of the video, the tactical heartbeat sensor is the best thing to use. I actually just won a solo game about 10 minutes ago, and I believe I got 6 kills off of the heartbeat sensor alone. There's people that sit on roofs or wherever they're sitting. You're able to track up to 50 meters, which is a massive range if they don't have ghosts. There's so many times you're on the very, very bottom of the floor, has 15 floors. That heartbeat sensor will track all the way up to that 15th floor and tell you exactly how far away he is from you. I would say about 25% of my kills literally come from using heartbeat sensors. I've actually died a few times today to a guy camping in a corner, just looking at his heartbeat sensor, waiting for me to crouch around him. So that's the number one thing for kills. Using the bounties is probably the most important thing to do. It automatically tracks players, and obviously gives you that free cash. This is definitely the most important thing I do in solos. After I get my first initial loot, I got my loadout, my first thing I do is I go for the bounties, because with those bounties, it's going to track where players are. It's going to allow you to kill them. You get money for killing them, and you get all of their loot. Definitely recommend it, number one in solos. And then the C4 RPG combo is probably the number one combo I recommend if you want to get more kills. With those C4s, you'll be able to kill those window campers that are sitting in the second story of houses. With the RPG, you're going to be able to take out vehicles. Obviously, at C4, you can take out vehicles as well. It's the best thing to kill campers. It's the best thing to kill vehicles. Stack that with the heartbeat sensor. Your heartbeat sensor tracks them in the second floor. You throw that C4 in the window, boom, they're dead. It definitely has a lot of damage. And then the last tip for getting kills is going to use those vehicles. It helps with you being able to rotate faster. It also shows you on the map, which is obviously going to make you a target, but it's also going to allow players to try and find you and kill you. I definitely think there's a lot of times I almost ran over a player, missed him, and jumped out and able to gun him down at a close range fight. The last thing I recommend is playing around the buy stations at the edge of zones. I couldn't tell how many times I've tried to go for high ground on a buy station, and I'm killing 3 or 4 guys that are rotating in. It's definitely one of the best things I've learned. Probably on day one was a lot of people go to the buy stations, try and buy their teammates back in quads, buy UAVs, all that kind of stuff. People are always going to buy stations, so playing around them is the most important. And then obviously playing that high ground at the edge of the zone. The gameplay you guys are probably watching, I'm going to be using is the one I just won. I believe I got 6 kills off the top of the same building, just playing the high ground. And I went for the highest point of the map, so I was able to look down on every other location. And I think I ended up killing 7 or 8 of the people in my win, all from the same building, just playing that high ground. So hopefully this video does help you guys out. Hopefully it makes you a better Warzone player. I know it was very long. It's a very in-depth video because a lot of things you guys can really learn. If there's anything you guys think I missed, leave that down in the comment section below. Any specific class steps you guys want to know on what is the best gun to use in Warzone, I've uploaded all of those videos. If you guys are new to the channel, you guys are still watching, you guys have not subscribed yet, please subscribe to the channel. Make sure you guys like the video if you did enjoy. Like I said, leave a comment down below. Make sure you guys use code Trapgod on all of your Scuff and GFUEL purchases. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one.